On this video, I am going to try and just take my time working on a harmony of the Gospels in what we might call a polyglot harmony of the Gospels, the life of Christ, working in the four Gospels, and I'm using A.T. Robertson sort of as a foundation base, his book in the harmony of the Gospels, and I'm going to be reading it in Greek, in Latin, in Hebrew, and then, of course, English with grammatical analysis and commentary. I'm going to be holding it maybe to 15 minutes at the most, so I won't be able to cover a lot in this study. I'm also doing an English harmony, both. So we begin with the prologue of John. After the genealogies of Matthew and Luke, we now begin the incarnational text of the prologue of John. And so I read in the Greek, en arche ein halagos, kai halagos ein pros ton theon, kai taas ein halagos. And I think my approach will be to do each language with a grammatical analysis and then a running commentary as I go through. So in arche, in is a preposition, arche is a noun, and it's in the nominative, it's in the dative singular. Ein is the imperfect indicative active, third person singular from me. Halagos, ha is the definite article, nominative masculine singular, and logos is the same, nominative masculine singular. So in the beginning was the word, kai halagos ein pros ton theon, and the word was pros ton theon. Pros is it's taking the accusative case, preposition, toward God, and I think it would be fair to translate it like face to face with God. Pros takes the accusative then in ton theon. Ton is the definite article in the accusative masculine singular, and theon is a noun in the accusative masculine singular from theos. Kai theos ein halagos, and the word was divine. Again, theos is the nominative, and it is understood as a predicate nominative. It is predicating something about halagos, or the word. So the way to understand it is not translated as the word was a God, but the word was divine. And because it is in the predicate nominative with the verb to be in between, it does not take the article. It's not, you would never translate it, the word was a God, but the word was divine. Just like in 1 John, God is love. Love is a predicate nominative. It's predicating something about God. It's the very same kind of a construction, and it shows that God has the full nature and quality of love. And that's the thought here, the full nature and quality of being divine. That is the Logos. The Hebrew reads Bereshit Haya HaDavar, V'Hadavar Haya Et HaElohim, V'Hadavar Haya HaElohim. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Bereshit, we have the preposition be in. Reshit is a noun, masculine, is a noun singular, I should say. At the beginning, haya is a verb. It's the cow perfect, third masculine singular from haya. Ha-davar, definite article. Ha-davar means word in Hebrew. Ha-davar haya et ha-Elohim. And the word was with God, et ha-Elohim. And ha-Elohim means God, with the definite article ha. Ha-davar haya ha-Elohim. And the word was God. So the Latin then reads, in principio erat verbum, et verbum erat apud Deum, et Deus erat verbum. At the beginning, or in the beginning, erat was the word. Erat is the imperfect indicative active third person singular, from ire to be. Et verbum erat apud Deum, and the word was with God. The imperfect is repeated again in erat. Et Deus erat verbum. And the word was God. So, just a comment now on this verse. At the first, God always was. We see in the first clause the eternality of God. In the beginning was always the Word. And the Word was prostantheon, would be face to face with God. And the Word was God, or was divine. One of the things that I think is important here is that we see three great truths about the Word. And the Word is Christ, because in verse 14, the Word became flesh and tented among us, or pitched his tent among us. So we might also point out that the word memra is the Aramaic word for word that is used in the Targum to speak of God. It's used interchangeably with God. You might be reading along. The Targums are the Aramaic translation of the Hebrew. And so in a Targum, it might read, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and the Word said. And the Word then is being used as another way of saying God. So, as we move on, John then is showing the divinity of Jesus and showing that he was always, as we said, face to face with the Father and was fully divine. Verse 2 then reads, Hutas ein enarche prostantheon. This one was in the beginning face to face with God. Hutas is a demonstrative pronoun, nominative masculine singular. This one, another imperfect indicative active of the verb eimi and ein. This one was enarche, in the beginning, prostantheon, face to face with God. No one else. It was this one. Moses was not, John was not, and he'll develop that as we move through this great beginning in the harmony of the Gospels of Christ. And then the Hebrew reads, Hu haya bereshit etzel ha-Elohim. He, a personal pronoun, and we could probably translate it this one, or he, was, haya, is a verb. It's the cow perfect third masculine singular from haya. He was bereshit, in the beginning, etzel ha-Elohim, with God, or beside God. Preposition etzel, beside or alongside of or with God. And so the Latin then reads hoc, this one, erat in principio apud Deum. This one, understood, was in the beginning, in principio apud Deum, with God. So the Latin is very close to the Greek, as well as the Hebrew being close to the Greek. So what I think is being said in verse 2, it was this one that was face to face with God from all eternity, nobody else. Nobody else can claim to have that position except Jesus Christ. And the exciting thing about this introduction is that Jesus is eternal. All things had a beginning. All things came to be through him, where he uses the aorist, panta dia tu agenita, came to be. Secondly, he was face to face with God, where John came from God, but he was never face to face with God from all eternity. And thirdly, the Word was divine. And isn't it wonderful to know in verse 14 that the word sarx, agenita, became flesh and pitched his tent among us. That is, the eternal Word, the eternal Logos, the eternal Memra became flesh without sin and with all the temptations, I believe, of being human and yet without sin, and was there for us as the God-man. And as we looked upon him, we saw him full of grace and truth. So I'm going to stop there. I'm trying this to see how it might work out. I enjoy doing the grammar, and I hope others enjoy it or get involved somewhat as well. Thank you very much.